The Redmi Note series has always been considered the value champion in the mid-range market, and the latest device in the series, the Redmi Note 10 Pro, is no different. It offers very good value for money, and starting from only 999 ringgit, it is a very good mid-range smartphone. That being said, it does have a number of shortcomings, so let's get to that along with its good qualities in this review of the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Let's start off this review with what I like about the Redmi Note 10 Pro. The display, for one, is a 6.67-inch 1080p AMOLED screen with a fast 120Hz refresh rate. Thanks to this fast refresh rate, every single moving object on the screen looks very smooth, which gives the impression that it is a faster phone than it actually is. That is not to say this is a slow device, because the Qualcomm Snapdragon 732G chipset under the hood of this phone can keep up with my demands. Whether I'm multitasking or gaming, this phone can keep up without much fuss, though I have to say it does struggle a little bit in Genshin Impact, but as I've mentioned before in my previous videos, Genshin Impact is a game that even flagship smartphones struggle to run well, so the fact that it is playable on this phone quite a bit is a very good thing already. Next, we have the battery life of this phone, which is fantastic. It has a 5020 mAh battery, and on average, I can get between 7 to 8 hours of use on a single charge. In fact, if you're not a heavy smartphone user, I imagine you can get 2 days of use out of this phone quite easily. As for the camera performance of the Redmi Note 10 Pro, it is quite good as well, especially with the primary 108MP sensor. Whether it's daytime or nighttime, this camera can still capture pretty good looking images, although the camera interface does get a little bit sluggish in low light conditions. Aside from that, the images are also quite saturated, and depending on the situation, it can look a little artificial, but for the most part, it looks pleasant to the eyes and it's perfect for social media junkies. Aside from this primary 108MP sensor, it also has an 8MP ultra-wide-angle lens, a 5MP tele-macro lens, and a 2MP depth sensor. Overall, this allows you to take even more interesting shots, although the performance is not quite as good as the primary sensor, and I'll get to that in this next section, the bad stuff. Yes, while the primary 108MP sensor of the Redmi Note 10 Pro can take some good looking shots, the same does not apply to the ultra wide angle lens. The detail preservation is not there, it can't capture as much light, and overall, especially if you're in low light conditions, the ultra wide angle lens simply isn't up to snuff. You're much better off just shooting with the primary sensor. Aside from that, there is also my major qualm with Xiaomi, Redmi or any Poco phone, which is the software experience. Throughout my time with this phone, I do get these weird glitches where some apps will crash, although it doesn't happen very often, but my biggest qualm with this software experience is that the notification system is just not very good. For some reason, it will jumble up messages that I get from different messaging apps. I can get a message from Telegram, but it will show that I get this from WhatsApp, and the recipient is also jumbled up, and it just gets very confusing and very weird. I have never encountered this on any phone, and it's just quite disappointing that it's happening on the Redmi Note 10 Pro, because it's been so many years that Xiaomi is struggling with the software experience, and this is still a problem with this latest device in 2021. But the thing is, I've used the phone for a couple of weeks now, and only these two things really bother me about the Redmi Note 10 Pro. So if you're okay with a not so great ultra wide angle camera in low light conditions, as well as a pretty iffy software experience, you will be very happy with the Redmi Note 10 Pro. I mean, for less than 1000 ringgit, well, 999 ringgit, but you get my point, there's only so much that you can ask for from a mid-range phone at this price point. For that kind of money, you're getting a fast 120Hz AMOLED panel, a Snapdragon 732G chipset which is decently fast, as well as very long battery life. Since we're on the topic of value for money, let's break down the price of the Redmi Note 10 first for the Malaysian market. The base model with 128GB of storage and 6GB of RAM retails at 999 ringgit. If you want even more RAM, you can go for the higher end model with 8GB of RAM for 1099 ringgit. However, you are still only getting 128GB of storage, so you're essentially paying 100 ringgit more just to get 2GB more RAM. But overall, the Redmi Note 10 Pro still offers incredibly good value for money. There are no other mid-range smartphone that offers this feature set at this price point. If you can live with the subpar ultra-wide angle lens in low light conditions as well as the not so great software experience, you will be very happy with the Redmi Note 10 Pro's performance, battery life, and fast 120Hz AMOLED display. And that is it for this quick review of the Redmi Note 10 Pro. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and always stay tuned for more good stuff to come here on this channel and nextreview.com.